Well, howdy, y'all. Welcome to another high energy episode of the High Voltage Live Show. I'm your host, Willie Snyder with NEC Code, coming to you live from the My High City, joined by my awesome co-host, Mr. King James Stalkup, over there in Longhorn Country, giving old hook 'em horns from the My High City. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Really appreciate it. It's been so much fun. Oh, look what we got here already, James.
He's already
Uh-oh.
back again. We let him actually
Oh,
come on here. I
man.
thought we had him
He,
blocked.
he is... He,
That's what you're going
he
to
is
lose tonight.
he is wanting blood. Oh,
uh,
he's wanting. There's blood in the water there.
I say, bring
Welcome
it
in,
on,
Daniel.
baby.
And then it looks like David Englehart popped in just to say hey, ask about the death match. He's over there in the IAEI Southern Arizona chapter meeting via Zoom. So
Oh yeah.
thanks for
Southern chapter.
popping in, David.
I've actually been to that before. I think I've been there twice, matter of fact.
And our good buddy John, welcome in, John.
Hey,
Thanks
John.
for joining, sir. What's
Hell
up?
yeah.
Yo. So yeah, I really appreciate a big shout out to Kyle. He's one of the members of the Electrical Code Discussion for Awesome Electricians. He's responsible for the Myth of the Week this week. And I figure we just kind of cover it again since it seems like it's kind of been getting misinterpreted. And like I say, I think you will put together something pretty good, kind of explain to everybody. But it's crazy how these guys just pick and choose different things and then try to kind of interpret the code a little differently just to kind of. I mean, honestly, when you really look at it. When anyone mentions bundling, they say when spacing is not allowed. And when you go look at that as far as like a definition, what is that? What would you consider adequate spacing? Is that one conductor width? Is that one cable width? Is that, do you have it tight together at 1 inch and then at the next inch they're spaced apart? Like, I mean, literally, there's no definition in bundling that gives you where it's spaced apart or where you allowed separation. I think that's a real vague term in the NEC. So we'll kind of go over that tonight. And I really appreciate everyone joining. Means a lot. And just to give you a update, David, I just got on James just now about the death match. He's going to get it done this weekend. And so basically all the months will be open. So if you didn't take any tests for any of the months, they'll be open for you to take. And so, yeah, dude, you already got me up there, man. Nuggets win or stay home. So Nuggets got a must win tonight. So go
What,
Nuggets.
what
Um,
what DJ say about the Avalanche? I didn't see anything
uh,
on that.
Yeah, he says like we're gonna have to like get Rantanen back next season, and we let you borrow him for this run, but we'll have him back for next season. But
I mean,
you know,
they play tonight. They beat Winnipeg tonight. They moved to the next one, the
yep,
next round. So
yeah, Edmonton already locked in, so Edmonton's sitting there waiting for the winner of this one. But
yeah,
um, it's a lot of fun doing these. I have a blast, and Daniel knew this was gonna happen. He says all of a sudden you're just this big Stars fan. All of a sudden, when like before when we were gonna like whoop your backside, you're like, oh, I don't know, I don't follow hockey. I'm not into the
I
Stars.
don't
I'm
know
not a real
anything about it.
fan.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll admit it.
Now all of a sudden you're a big fan.
No,
So
I'm really not. I just like because they won. Because
yeah.
you were telling me, oh, they'll find out. Get the playoffs, and then they won. And I was like, yeah, Just can't keep the good
Hey,
Texas boys down. What can I say?
Hey, I played the Dallas Star song, so
Yeah,
I fessed up to the bet, so it's all good. And yeah, and Daniel's gonna let you get the hammer, for Broncos Cowboys, and we'll see what happens on that.
I'm
see
gonna
how the
tell you what.
Cowboys are doing.
I've been keeping up with Cowboys had an incredible draft, and I was sitting there looking at what they've done. This all I hadn't really kept up with them, but they got two good linebackers. They got good defense. I mean, they actually signed some people I didn't realize, and they got like Kenneth Murray, one of the linebackers. They got Sanborn from Chicago. I was like, man, their defense looks pretty stout. And then I feel like they stole the guy in the third round. That cornerback, I forget his name, Selby or something like that. And
Yeah, they got that blue running back. He's freaking good.
Jaden Blue, yeah, Jaden's, boy, that boy's fast. But then they got Pickens in the trade, and then they got their to replace Zach Martin. They got their new guard. I mean, I think South's going to be pretty tough this year. Some are saying that they're playoff contenders this year. So,
Yeah, so just
what could happen.
just to let you know, there's like jokes that go around all the different NFL groups, and it's like, this is Dallas's year.
Yeah.
So
They were even saying that when the first year when Aikman and them won it, and then won it the next year. You know, they were saying no, they say it's their year, and there they won it. So, but
yeah.
you know, that's one thing in NFL. You make a few trades here and there, all of a sudden it's a different team. So,
yeah, true. All right, well, you want to pop up the meme of the week? I've been actually getting some AI stuff in. It's pretty funny. The depictions of the people are funny. I think you'll like
all right,
this.
let's roll it.
So it's actually funny because my buddy William Kurz from Spartan Electric, he actually has that picture in a bunch of textbooks now, and you got old Tommy ties there. But it's pretty funny because like a lot of these guys, they don't know this whole backstory, but a lot of these guys, they post some of their stuff online, post it in like the electrical groups and stuff, and that's kind of what happened this week with the myth of the week. He posted what he did and was asking, if it was a code violation, and we're like, no, that's good. And the inspector failed him, so I actually posted his, he's redoing it. He took all the conduits out and he's redoing it so that he could appease the inspector. But, that's what we kind of do these for, so that bring up these myths and, see what you guys think. So I think you'll enjoy the myth of the week this week.
All right, here we go.
It's time for Myth of the Week.
All right, so I have a really awesome one for you this week. This comes from one of the members of Electrical Code Discussion for Awesome Electricians. He kind of asked us about this install, and right away everyone said you couldn't do that unless it was 24 inches or less, and that's not correct. This is actually, the myth is actually false. The NEC does limit the number of conductors that can be installed in a sleeve if it's a raceway or a nipple, but not necessarily a sleeve. It still limits it to 100%, which I actually had one that me and King James did a long time ago, where I tried to see how many number 12s I could get in a 3/4, and I think I only got 26 in there, and we calculated at like 62, 63% or something like that. So it's really funny that when you actually try to put this in practice, now just by looking at this off the top of my head, I would say that's well under 40% if that was installed as a raceway. So it's pretty interesting. And then you have 312.5C, which gives you specific things that you have to do. And I was kind of talking to King James about this a little bit. I think he would need to support all those NM cables like before they enter the sleeve, within 12 inches of where they enter the sleeve. And I would think he would need to seal that raceway or that sleeve. But I don't see why you would need to seal both sides because technically you're sealed up above the hard lid. So I don't see why you could just seal one side and then on top of that, while you're sealing it, you could allow for separation. So, I mean, to me, the thing that's funny about this was the AHJ in this case actually gave him a rejection based on 334.80, which is more than two current carrying conductor, more than two NM cables penetrating through a wood hole and with sealed with thermal insulation. So that's not even close to the same as what is going on. So I agree with the gentleman that just decided to just appease the inspector and just change this out. But this could have very easily, I think, been corrected and not been a code violation. And I'm sure you're gonna take this way further than I just did, King James.
Yes, I will. It's interesting because
And the crowd goes wild.
this is something, I don't remember the code where they came in and they actually allowed you to do this installation. I just didn't have time to go back and look at it, where they would take and go up. Actually, they went through the top plate and they would have a 2-inch going up and then running the non-metallic sheet cable down through there.
Right.
That was in the code a while back, and then they took it out because they did other things in the code that they said they didn't have to be specific to that because it was nothing more than a sleeve. Okay, right. So and I will try next week to find that because we actually had it in our book and had an illustration on it. Now,
right.
I actually had a little bit of time to go last night and look at the post and see what people were arguing and where they were trying to say the code says that you have to do rate fart. That seems to be the argument, and I'm going to prove that you don't. Okay. Right. There's a lot of people saying that, and I'm like, that is a sleeve. That is not a raceway. It's not a nipple or anything like that. And I'm going to even show you an NFPA enhanced content, but I'm going to walk all the way through this and show you what is required for it to be even considered a raceway in the first place. Okay?
Right.
Now, one of the things they kept pointing to was 312.5C, and they were looking at exception number 1, and they were looking at item number 7. Okay?
Yep.
Now, one thing that I want to point out is in 312.5C, where it talks about cables, it says where cable is used, each cable shall be secured to the cabinet, cutout, box, or meter socket enclosure. Okay?
Right.
Then if you come down and pick up 7, it says were installed as conduit or tubing, the cable fill does not exceed the amount that would be permitted. Now listen, complete conduit or tubing system by what? Chapter 9, table 1. Okay?
Yeah.
So it has to be a complete conduit or tubing system. And then it says, and all the applicable notes there to it, except what? Note 2. Okay? Yep. Now, there's hold on a second. There's an informational note as you go look at note 9. We'll get into that in a little while, where it talks about the required ampacity reductions for multiple cables installed in a common raceway. Okay? Right. But what I want to point out, in a common raceway, that means a raceway system, that's something metallic from end to end, which I'm going to show that, and you have to be connected in there. Then there's some reductions that have to apply there. So this informational note has nothing to do with what they're requiring there in 7. They're saying this is another informational note where I had cable fill and circular raceways. Okay.
Yep.
But they go through and they tell you reductions for multiple cables installed in a common raceway. That's what I'm going to get into and show you where they're applying this wrong because they're not looking at other parts of the NEC.
So what we used to do a lot was we used to have like these older houses that would have like the feeder like piped into the interior of the house. And then what we would do is we just tag onto that conduit that was running the feeders. We'd run it to our new panel. Since here in Colorado we have to put our panels on the outside of the building, so we can't have them on the outside. So what we do is we just put an LB or whatever on that, and then we'd make that our raceway that goes to the new, that ties in our existing circuits. So the circuits that were the interior panel on the interior of the building, we'd relocate it out to the outside, and then we'd just tag on and we'd make that a complete raceway from our new panel to the old panel, make that our junction box. Mm-hmm. And so that I would have to do the conductor fill, because that's a complete raceway on both ends.
Okay. Now, if I look at this and I look at note 2, let's see what it says. Table 1 applies to what? Only complete conduit or tubing systems, and is not intended to apply to sections of conduit or tubing used to protect exposed wiring or cable from physical damage. Well, let's go back and look. If I come back here, it says all applicable surgery except what? Number 2. Well, why is that? Because note 2 can be applied to what?
Sleeve.
A sleeve to protect from physical damage. Okay?
Yeah.
So that's why I want everybody to see. You got to go back and forth to know exactly what it's stating here. Then if I look at note 4, that deals with what? Nipples that are 24 inches or less, right? And of course, a nipple is continuous from enclosure to enclosure.
Yep.
Okay? So nobody's going to disagree with that at this point. Now, it also said, when I come back here and I look at the informational note, says see note 9 for allowable cable fill in circular raceways. And then it says see 310.15C1 for required and passive reductions for multiple cables installed in a common raceway. So it has to be a raceway. That's why it's telling you here in number 7 that this applies to what? Chapter 9, Table 1 and Note 2 doesn't apply to this type of condition because why? It's being used as a sleeve. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, anybody can, at this point, I want to, if anybody's watching in the comments, tell me where you disagree with what I just stated. Okay? Now, if I go look at the enhanced content from NFPA, what does it say? It says the maximum fill requirements do not apply to short sections of conduit or tubing used for physical protection of conductors and cables. Oh, well, so now they're calling it short sections. Okay. Well, normally, what is that a short section considered? It's considered a sleeve. Because
less than 10 foot.
But these are the things I'm trying to point out. Even NFPA is stating here that it's a short section. Now, I'm going to go and show you different parts in the code. We'll go look at 300.10, 300.12, and I'm going to show you where it uses that exact term there, short sections. Okay? Now, the second sentence says, cables commonly are protected from physical damage by conduit or tubing, sleeves, okay, sized to enable the cable to be passed through with relative ease without injuring or abrading the protected jacket of the cable. Now, how anybody's going to disagree with it up to this point, I don't get it, because I'm showing you here, even NFPA is recognizing these short sections now. Now watch this. Here we go. You've got 300.10. This is where it gets into the electrical continuity of your metal raceways, cable armor, and enclosures. Okay? And it tells you here, in order for this to be installed, your metal raceways, cable, armor, and other metal closures for conductors shall be metallically joined together in a continuous electrical conductor and shall be connected to all boxes, fittings, and cabinets to provide effective electrical continuity. That's when it becomes a raceway. But in order to get away from this, to show that they'll allow something different, let's look at exception number 1. Oh, I can't believe it. Short sections of raceways used to provide support or protection for cable assemblies from physical damage shall not be required to be made electrically continuous. Why is that? Because it's not a full raceway. It's got to connect from end to end. Now, if I go to the next one, 300.12, it gets into your raceways and cables. Okay, so looky here. Once again, a cable connects from end to end, right?
Yeah.
But look there, exception 1 allows me to use it, EMT, for instance, as what? A short section.
Yeah.
So right here, I'm not reading anything into this. I'm showing you where exception number 1 here in 300.10 and 12 comes back and matches right here with the short sections that they're describing here in note 2 to chapter 9, table 1. Okay?
Yeah, and I really appreciate Tabitha from Ask the Lady Electrical Inspector. She was saying you have to take the code as a whole. You can't just look at one section and say it applies to everything.
That's right.
We're showing you the code as a whole and how it all goes full circle.
But just to prove my point one more time, what is a raceway installation? It says it's a complete run in 300.18a. And it says raceways other than busways, listed manufacturer assemblies in accordance with 604-100, or exposed raceways having hinge or removable covers shall be installed complete between outlet, junction, or splicing points prior to the installation of conductors or cables. Okay? Yeah. I didn't make anything up. Now, what does the exception say? Short sections of raceways used to contain conductors or cable assemblies for the protection of physical damage shall not be required to be installed complete between outlet, junction, and splicing points. Why is that? Because the short section, even looking back here at note 2, through the NFPA enhanced content, they tell you that it is what? A sleeve.
Yep.
Now, this, I don't know how anybody can argue this up to this point, but let's go a step further. If I look at 300.17, it gets into the number and size of conductors and cables and raceways, and it says the number and size of conductors and cables in any raceway shall not be more than will permit the dissipation of heat, ready installation or withdrawal of the conductor. So, once again, I've been stating it's a sleeve. You got it open end at the other end. That allows for what? Dissipation of your heat.
Yeah.
Okay. Then they put an informational note and they say, hey, go look at point 22 in all of these articles here. Okay. So I just picked out a couple here, but let's see what it says. If I look at 344 rigid, it says the number of conductors shall not exceed that permitted by the percentage field specified in chapter 9, table 1. Then look what it says. Cables shall be permitted to be installed where such use is not prohibited by the respective cable articles. The number of cables shall not exceed the allowable percentage fill in Chapter 9, Table 1. I don't know. And then if I go look at the next one, I look at 352 dealing with polyvinyl chloride PVC, call it that.
Yeah.
You get the exact same language, and then if I go to 358 and I pick up EMT, you get the exact same language again. Okay? Yeah. That's not something that's being made up. Now, after that, people go in, and I was watching everything, they go, well, you got to go over and look at 310.15C1. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at that. And if somebody disagrees with what I'm saying, put it in the comments. I'll be more than happy to discuss this. But
I know, I'm surprised we haven't seen our weed man troll yet.
He probably wouldn't come on this because he wouldn't be able to answer. You know, he'd just say we're all a bunch of morons. But if I look at this and I look at C1, it talks about more than 3 current carrying conductors. Now let's see what it says. The ampacity of each conductor shall be reduced as shown in table 310.15C1, where the number of current carrying conductors in a raceway or cable exceeds 3. So if I'm in a cable, those conductors in each one of that one cable has to exceed 3. Now let's see what it says right after this. Or where single conductors, oh, looky here, are multi-conductor cables not installed in raceways.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So this is another area where I'm taking and I'm using non-metallic sheet cable and I'm not installed in a raceway. It says, are installed without maintaining spacing for a continuous length longer than 24 inches. Well, hey, wait a minute. That 24 inches is not in a raceway. So how the hell are you going to tell me I don't maintain 24 inches? Because right here, it's telling me where it's not installed in a raceway.
Yeah.
Okay. But I just went through and showed you all the sections where I could put a sleeve on it that was permitted as a short section of raceway.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, how anybody can argue that, I really don't know. But
well, yeah, and I feel that you can maintain spacing like in that PVC. Like if you're sealing it, I feel like you could seal it and maintain spacing of those conductors in that raceway.
Sure you can. Well, for one, it allows for dissipation of heat anyway because it's a short section of raceway. Yeah. It's nothing more than a sleeve. And that's why I have problems with it. But anyway, then it gets in, and here's another one, and some of y'all that watch our podcast continuously or gone through and watch some of the videos, it gets in informational note number 1 talks about looking at your informative annex B for adjustment factors where you have more than 3 current carrying conductors where you could be in a raceway cable, but you have load diversity. So in other words, I could have a whole bunch of cables in there, but not all of them are going to be considered current carrying. So there's load diversity. I could have 40 conductors in there and only 8 of them current carrying. You see what I'm saying? So there's not a lot of heat built up in there. And that's why I have a problem when people say, well, you got to do this and this. Well, no, you need to look at exactly what it's telling you, and you've got to go back and look at other parts of the code. This is using the code as a whole to show where what they're saying is wrong. But another good example, if I look at informational number 2, look what it refers to. 366.23, this is where we're dealing with auxiliary gutters. Well, if I look at an auxiliary gutter, I can put 30 current carrying conductors in there. And that's in an enclosure that is enclosed that doesn't allow for the escape of heat. But if I'm in a sleeve that actually allows for it, why the hell would I be able to do 30 here, but I'm in a sleeve that actually has for dispersion of heat? Now all of a sudden I've got to take and apply adjustment factors. That makes no sense.
Oh, 100%. The one thing that I think is interesting though is when you look at like that installation, I don't really see that being any big problem. You have like some NM cables that's coming into a piece of like a 2-inch PVC. The PVC is like well large enough for those Romexes to come in. But I'll take it a step further. A lot of times when we're doing like gas and oil and stuff, we're just packing these sleeves with cables, and when you talk about that load diversity, we're using like a ladder logic, so these aren't running like full continuous loads through these sleeves, so I think that's why they had to have that ambiguity in there to allow you to do that, so that because we're not going to sit there and run 20 separate conduits out there for some of that stuff, because it's not all running at the same time.
Sure.
So that's a good point.
And you can take and look at the next one, and it gets in and it starts talking about your cable tray. And then you go over, and it's basically going to take you over to 392.80 to pick some information up. And this goes back once again where I'm saying y'all got to go back and look at what it exactly is saying. So it says it shall apply. Well, when you go over and look at that, it talks about your multi-conductor cables in there. And it says when you got these multi-conductor cables and you look at A1 and it goes down, it picks up A where it goes in, talks about the adjustment factors in 310.1516 or 15C1. It says that it only applies to multi-conductor cables with more than 3 current carrying conductors. Now, let me explain what that means. If I've got a multi-conductor cable, and that multi-conductor, I'm not talking about bundled up. This is only talking about one multi-conductor cable. If the multi-conductor cable has 3 or more, now you've got to look at taking and applying for your derating factor for adjustment. Okay?
Yeah, and that whole cable tray, I'm just not trying to interrupt, just to kind of interject, like we ran into this where we run like 400 amp parallel conductors to stuff, and we'll run it in cable tray, but we'll have like a spacing, and then what we'll do is we'll zip tie those in triangles, and then we'll have like a minimum spacing that they give us as far as that, but we're not having to derate.
No.
Because we're in that cable tray with multiple conductors, we just have to have them stacked a certain way for the EMF, and then to make sure they're spaced a certain amount apart so that we don't have that EMF induction on our conductors.
And if you look at the last sentence that goes with that 392.80A1, listen to what it says. Everybody listen to what I'm about to say. Adjustment factors shall be limited to the number of current carrying conductors in the cable and not to the number of conductors in the cable tray.
Yeah.
I mean, that can't be any more explicit. And that's why I'm saying the same thing. When I got a sleeve, it's sort of like a cable tray. It can dissipate. And that's what this is about. But anyway, so I want to look at the next one. Now, then it goes.
I knew I'd get you going on this one. I knew you'd love it.
I love doing stuff like this because a lot of people, they don't look at the code as a whole. And I went through and I was reading that, and I was reading it, and they just pick one thing out and think that applies to everything, and that's not true. And right here, like it says, adjustment factors shall not apply to type AC or to type MC cable in the following conditions. Let's see what it says. The cables do not have an overall outer jacket. Each cable has not more than 3 current carrying conductors. The conductors are number 12 copper, and there's not more than 20 current carrying conductors are installed without maintaining spacing or stacked or supported on bridle rings. Same type of language we saw before. So basically, you're looking at these AC cables, but they're being installed from point to point. You see what I'm saying? They're not inside another raceway or something. These are a bunch of cables that are tied together, and they're basically putting some limits on it. And it says, it tells if it's got the exception there, and it says if you have more than 20 current carrying conductors that are installed longer than 24 inches without maintaining spacing or stacked or support on bridle rings, a 60% adjustment factor shall be applied. There's your adjustment factor. That's how they tell you to do it. They literally give you rules to do it. But when it comes to a sleeve and everything, there's no rules for that.
Yeah.
Now,
I agree. I mean, especially like with our little nipple experiment, because I pushed the limit. Like I tried to get as many number 12s as I possibly could in a 3/4. And I mean, like I'm adamant that 26 is the limit.
Yeah. Well,
I can't get much more than that.
I want to point one other. Here is the table, and I don't care about the percentages and all that. I just want to look at the bottom for number of conductors. It says number of conductors is the total number of conductors in the raceway or cable. It's not saying cables all together. It's saying it's in the raceway or the cable, including spare conductors. This count shall be adjusted in accordance with 310.15 E&F. That's where you got your neutral and equipment grounds. And it basically says the count shall not include conductors that are connected to electrical components that cannot simultaneously energize.
Yeah. There's your diversity right there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much more clear this can be. And I heard it was something that an inspector called him on that he needed, for whatever reason. But from what I understood from this was he went over and he was looking at his non-metallic sheet cable, and the quote that I understood from it was he was citing 334.80, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now,
more than two cables installed without maintaining spacing, which is going through a board hole that's filled with insulation.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to go look at. So if you go over and look at 334.80, that's where you get into the ampacity of your non-metallic cable. And it tells you that when you're looking at that's determined in accordance with 310.14, blah, blah, blah. And then tells you the ampacity shall not exceed that of the 60 degree C rated conductor. Then it says the 90 degree C shall be permitted for your opacity adjustment and correction calculations. Okay, so we all know that you can do. Now, it also goes in, there's a second paragraph that says where you have more than two non-metallic cables containing two or more current carrying conductors are installed without maintaining spacing through the cables through the same opening in wood framing. Now listen to this, that is to be sealed with thermal insulation caulk or sealing foam. Then the ampacity correction factors need to apply at this point. Well, why is that? That's because there's no area for it to allow for the heat dissipation.
True.
And that's what I've been trying to say. When you first asked me, I said, well, no, that's not right. Well, first I thought you said they were just taking the non-metallic sheet cable up through the openings and everything. And I said, well, you can do that. And you said no. I said wait a minute. I said you can too. That's only where you got caulking and everything, and you can't allow for it. And you said that's right. So
yeah. So I kind of opened up the Pandora's box on this, and I think you kind of misunderstood what I was talking about. So when we're in residential, we just typically go two. Like we don't go any more than two. And a lot of times what happens is a lot of these like energy. So I'm in Colorado, and for some reason there's a lot of people that are scared that these party walls in like hotels and stuff are going to get burnt down by stoners because weed's legal here. But what they do is they fill the holes with thermal insulation. And so a lot of times what we do just to avoid argument with inspectors is we just always run two. We don't mess around because we don't know which holes are going to be filled. Like if we're on that party wall and we're going through and we're drilling a unit, we're drilling like a unit a day or whatever, or 5 units a day or whatever it comes down to. And so when we're over there on the rough crew and we're roughing them in, we don't want to have the inspector come back and say, oh, this one's got 3 and it got thermal insulation in it. So that's what I was explaining to you is kind of a Pandora's box when it comes to residential, is we don't know which holes are going to be filled with thermal insulation. But that has nothing to do with a 2-inch sleeve going above a hard bit.
No, it doesn't. And then just to finish it off, I got a sleeve. I could sit here and look at the exception here, and it says where different ampacities apply to portions of a circuit, the higher ampacity shall be permitted to be used if the total portions of the circuit with lower ampacity does not exceed 10 foot or 10% of the total circuit.
Yeah.
So I could look at it that way. I got a 100-foot run and I've got 10 foot or less of a sleeve. I could use it this way if I wanted to, just to finish it off to keep you from arguing with me.
Yeah, and it's not that I'm arguing with you. Like
No,
I
I'm just saying
actually,
anybody that argues it, you know.
oh yeah, no, I do agree with that 10 foot or 10% rule. I think that's actually good, but just to explain, I seems like I explain the same thing a lot, but what they do is they have this 10% rule. So let's just say that you bundle the crap out of let's just say you go 60% on a nipple up to like a gutter wireway, and then you go 100 foot out there. What the code says is that that short section is less than 10 foot of the overall run, so that's gonna act as a heat sink, and that's gonna like reduce the heat. So it might be a little bit hot in that nipple area, but then for the length of the run, that heat's going to dissipate, and that's actually code compliant.
Mm-hmm.
So they actually allow you to have a little bit higher heat in that short section of raceway, and then throughout the whole entire run, that's going to dissipate it to your actual load. So a lot of people don't understand how that works, and especially like inspectors out there. Me and King James have had a lot of inspectors come through here, and it's meant a lot that they've learned. Like as a lady electrical inspector, I'll never forget when you said, "Oh yeah, they said the code overrides the manufacturer instructions." She's like, "What now?" Like she was silent for a while. It was hilarious.
That's what
But
they're trying to do. I don't think that's going to stick, though, because.
yeah,
But what gets me is they'll argue that overrides it, but when they need to apply that listing and labeling, oh well, that overrides.
hmm
You can't have it both ways, brother. I mean,
yeah,
and as long as I've been doing this, I was always, even when I went through apprenticeship, you did what the listing and labeling said. I was taught that through the union apprenticeship.
well, we have a lot of stuff. Like I've been getting into the fire alarm for the last like 3 years, and there's a lot of cases where we have. I mean, it's kind of like the Wild West when it comes to some of this stuff because we have actual components that are like you know they're not we have to go back to the manufacturer for when they were actual listed. So like we'll have stuff where we have to swap devices,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't even manufacture those devices anymore.
Yeah,
So we have to go to like the manufacturer instructions of the new device and cross-reference with the manufacturer instructions from the old device
sure you
to
do.
see if it's compatible with all this different stuff. And like the code doesn't have anything to do with that,
No,
you
it
know.
doesn't.
And it actually says in NFPA 72 that the manufacturer instructions are basically your go-to when you don't have any other information.
Sure.
So it tells you that in the code. It says if you don't have any other guidance from the code, go to the manufacturer instructions and cross-reference it. And then what else do they do, King James? They say I'm a qualified person, so I'm a qualified person to make that determination that this will fit in that enclosure and all that different stuff. It doesn't tell me that it's going to be a code violation.
I can't tell you how many times I've seen where I've been out of job that they'll have in the specs, they'll tell you uh, follow the NEC, but they also have a note in there uh, follow if the manufacturer's instructions tell you to do something other, you better do it.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain things that are critical. They'll tell you to like use specific wire nuts, and
Mm-hmm.
they don't. There's like the manufacturer says, hey, use these wire nuts or else your wire's not going to fit. Code doesn't cover anything like that.
No, it doesn't.
Like because it's their specific compartment that only fits a certain amount of conductors. The one that cracks me up the most, I just did. Everyone saw it. I had a VAV unit, and it was funny because the HVAC guy, I was like, hey man, can I get a submittal for all your equipment? Because I was like, I don't have a submittal. He's like, oh man, he goes, I got all of it over here. He goes, it all takes number 12. So I'm thinking to myself, well, that's cool. That should be pretty easy, you know. And then I went and looked at it. It was like 36.5 amps.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, yeah, look right there. It says number 12 AWG. I said, no, it says number 12 AWG minimum. It doesn't say it takes number 12.
Yeah.
I was like,
No.
the manufacturer isn't going to tell you that. So, like, that's where it comes into the other part. You know, it's good to have an open mind. This is what my dad used to tell me. It's good to have an open mind, but not so open your brains fall out.
All right.
No, I like now it's not even as funny when it's making my jokes funny. All right, I see how you are. I can make your jokes funny, but not make my jokes funny. I
agree. That's my dad says the same thing.
Yeah,
I've heard him say so many different things. Like, you got to be kidding me.
But no, so the myth is actually false that the NEC does give you guidelines for how many cables you can install in a conduit, but it actually proves a whole point that you have to know the code as a whole. You can't just pick and choose where you want to apply stuff. And you know, that's what we always try to push on this show, on this podcast, is look at the code as a whole, see all the different sections. A lot of people say you can't even put Romex or NM cable in a raceway, and so we just showed you a bunch of different cases where you can, as long as you're protecting it from physical damage, it's good to go. So hopefully you guys all got something out of that, what we were going about. And like I say, that was part 2 of myth number 44. So you can always go into electrical code discussion for awesome electricians. We have all the myths in the featured, and you could go in there and look at all the myths. If you disagree with them, hit me up, you know, and we'll you know, address them or change them or do whatever, you know, make it to where they're all cohesive with the actual code, because some are like getting a little old and stuff. Like they were maybe code compliant under like the 2017, and now they changed some stuff, you know. So the code is evolving a little bit, but you know, we don't always 100% don't always 100% agree with all the changes, but you know, like I say, that's gonna be interesting, man. 62554 is to me, it's interesting because it says where outlets are installed for connection of EBSE, you know, and it just cracked me up how they didn't change that language, how they kept it the same. It's like, well, just don't install an outlet, you're good.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. But this, you know, just like this myth, it was a good myth, and I think it's been explained now, and nobody disagreed. So, but it's hard to disagree when you're seeing the terminology there and tying it back and forth with all the different sections, you know. And that's why when I was reading some of the comments, I was like, you know, y'all are just arguing one part. You're not looking at the whole code. And I was like, I'm going to have to really go through this and explain it thoroughly, so, you know, there won't be any misinterpretations, I guess.
Dude, they got real quiet real fast once I kicked back on them and said, all right, you know, how can you sit there and say that only this one section says you have to apply this? None of the other section of the code says you have to apply this, but this one section says you do. It didn't fly for me, but I guess we'll go ahead and go into the tool.
We're probably going to have to skip the topic this week because we took so long on this, and we took almost an hour.
I know, again.
I tell you. That's okay. I'll just roll it next week. I have no big hurry.
Okay. We could even skip myth next week, too.
We'll do.
It's time for Tool Review of the Week. Sponsored by Electricians Only Tool Review and Nipex Tradesman.
All right, so we're going on to Milwaukee Red tool this week, which is pretty awesome. It's this VacLink dust control vacuum. It takes 2 batteries. Really sweet system. I was using this for a hammer drill. We were doing some stuff, just trying to keep the dust down, trying to make it to where you have like this environmental safe. This is actually HEPA vac, so it covers all the different stuff when it comes to controlling that dust. One of the things that you'll notice is when we're on these job sites, it's really hard to kind of like get our equipment into like different areas. But that's what I really like about this is it's cordless. So all you have to do is just hook it to your tool, and then anytime you hit your trigger, it already has like a link in there. That's that VacLink. And what it does is it senses your trigger and it automatically turns on. So it's really cool. It has like all these like really cool functions. As everyone knows, silica is a big time problem in the construction industry, and I don't know about you, King James, but I probably swallowed about 10 cinder blocks full of concrete in my day, and I don't look to do it anymore. But a lot of times what happens is you'll get in these environments and they'll just start creating this massive amounts of concrete dust, and it's really hazardous to your health. That concrete dust will get into your lungs. It turns into like a crystallite, and then what it does is it just basically dies in your lungs, and that's what they found out. Like when you start getting concrete in your lungs, it could actually kill you. And so that's why they wanted to stop the silica. And this is actually one of the tools that I really like, that I don't even think it's paralleled. I don't even think anybody has a tool like this out there that can keep up at this level. It takes those 9 amp hour batteries, and it takes 2 of them. So you could pretty much use it for like a week straight. Really good length of time. Like I don't think I charged the whole time I used it. It was really good. And with that VacLink, that's what's nice. You just set up the VacLink to your tool trigger, and then anytime you hit your trigger, it turns on, and then it just sucks that dust out. And man, it's really good. It might be a little bit pricey, but it's worth it with all the new technology that it has. And they show some of the different tools. I was using it with the hammer drill, pretty big size hammer drill, and it was nice because wherever I had to drill down to different floors, I was able to just go over there, suck all that dust up, and then even if I was going up or down or whatever I was doing, it was controlling it. And not only for me, but the people around me. And I think that's important for like safety with the tool design, everything like that.
Yeah.
So
That's good.
yeah, I really like it. They usually show it for like skill saws and stuff, but I was using it for like a hammer drill, and it worked really nice. It has a little vac halo that goes around your hammer drill bit.
Yeah.
And then the minute you start drilling, it just goes through and just sucks all that dust up. And like I say, it's nice because you're not having to worry about dust dropping in your face or dropping around you or dropping on people. It actually was pretty nice. And they actually have different accessories, I thought, that was cool, that comes with it, like little hose extensions, different stuff that you could do with it. They had something, it said something about pack out, like it had a pack out option or something, but I'm not exactly sure what that pack out option was. Like possibly you could like pack out some stuff on it or something, but it has some pack out options too. But it's their new tool that they just came out with, and it's really on point. I was really impressed with it.
They have been coming out with quite a few new tools lately.
Yeah, it works good. And like I say, I was just looking at the OSHA fine, and $100,000 for putting silica dust in the air around coworkers. So
Wow.
might pay for itself if you're looking at those type of fines. Like, I wouldn't. I was blown away when I heard that. I was like, wow. I was like, that's expensive.
It
That's a
is.
pretty bad fine. So, just something to keep in mind. But it's always cool. Like when I use some of these tools and I could, test them out, check them out, see how they work. That really works good. I think I used it for like a week straight, and I think I barely even had to empty it. But that's where you come into the problem. Do you have to have a HEPA vac to empty the HEPA vac? Like how do you empty it? Like we actually went through like an OSHA course on that, where you have like a specific bag and you have to like tip it upside down and you have to like close the bag, and then it was like a emptying procedure of your HEPA vac vacuum, of how you empty it properly and take it out and how you put it in the trash can and everything. So it was pretty interesting. I learned a lot about HEPA vacs and how to empty a HEPA vac correctly. Because like you'd think you'd have to have a HEPA vac in the air, vacuuming up the HEPA while you're HEPA vacuuming and emptying the HEPA vac, but it hasn't got too out of control yet. Maybe have like a little lightsaber you just wave around while you're emptying it, but like I say, it's not that dangerous. Like me and King James, we come from an era where we would get like pixie dusted, like he'd be like, "Hey, look through this hole," and then you're like, "Oh, what? Look through that hole!" And a bunch of concrete dust come like right in your face,
Mm-hmm.
and like, "Oh, you just got pixie dusted," and it's like, "What? Why would you look through a hole?" Like, or the foreman's trying to teach the apprentice a lesson, So we used to come from the land of unsafeness of people just playing jokes and stuff. So. Like I say, that's where we're in a different world now. We're in a safe world, and you're gonna need to have that HEPA vac. So, yeah. So it's crazy because like when we're doing work in like the hospitals and stuff, like they would like kick you out of there if you didn't have a HEPA vac filter on there. And it's like, what's really the difference? They both suck through a filter or whatever, but it's that 1 micron or something. I don't know. They had the little technology. Like some harmful stuff could slip through that 1 micron. So we'll see. But yeah, it is what it is. It's cool. Do you want to do the Willie quiz? You want to do man versus machine? What do you want to do?
Let's do man versus machine, then we'll get in the Willie quiz. Go ahead and get it out of the way.
All right.
For years, man tried to create artificial intelligence. On this segment, we find out, is AI smarter than King James?
So King James so far is just whooping the tar out of AI. So, like I'm interested because it actually got this wrong a bunch of times.
I just did a class on this like 4 or 5 months ago.
Maybe.
Yeah, this is it's in 517. Was it 517.72 or 71, somewhere there? But it's 60 amperes.
Correct.
All right, let me go and let's share
my
the screen.
my brother actually asked AI the question without the multiple choice, and it got it right. But it has to have the multiple choice in there.
Well, I've got it here. So
All right.
let me increase it a little, sir.
I don't know why the multiple choice like fools it sometimes.
Well,
It might get it right. I told him you're coming. I said King James is coming to ask you this question live on our show, and it I think knows about our show now. So
let's see what it answers. 50 amperes.
Oh, got it wrong.
All right, I'm gonna have to reply to this.
Did it give a code reference?
No.
Because I think the actual reference is in 66024, possibly. It might be in 517 too. I don't know.
It's in 517. I'll look
but
here in a little bit.
660 is a portable X-ray equipment.
The answer is 60 amperes per. Oh man, let me go check. Let me go to NFPA link real quick. Give me a second.
I want to say the actual parent text is in 66022 or 24 or something like that. And then I think
it wasn't 72. It's 51771B.
Okay.
Give me a second. I'm gonna tell it what I want it to say.
So that's what we were talking about too, kind of, is you have the code as a whole. So you have portable X-ray equipment located at 660, and then that will reference you over to 517 for medical facility or medical requirements. Oh, you're lighting them up. Dude, and then right after that, I asked him again. It said 30 amps. So, they're both about the same, aren't they? It was like,
yeah, it's writing different things. It's saying I'm right. Blah blah blah. It says, "Thanks for the correction and the motivational fire. I'll definitely tighten up the code game and keep pace with both the NEC and the King."
There you go. All right. Love it.
We got it. All right.
Yeah, so, corrected him.
Yeah. I was just telling him you don't know what the hell you're talking about.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so fun. So hopefully Adam pops in here. He said he was like really wanting to join the quiz this week, so we'll go on to the Willie Quiz.
I was actually sort of surprised I remembered that one. It's been a while. Yeah, you're getting now where you ask me off-topic stuff I don't look at much. I'm like, yeah, really.
Dude, trust me, I actually sit there and think, like, what is King James not going to know right off the top of his head, you know? So I'm trying, doing the best I can.
All right, here we go. Let's cue it up.
Baby, all right.
What's the topic on this week?
Transformer toys.
Oh.
So it was actually picked by Team SOS members.
Really?
They voted on it. I was like, what should be the topic? And they said Transformer toys. And I thought it was cool because I remember when they came out, but I don't remember all of it. I don't remember all the trivia on it. So
well, they came out in the 80s. I know that. They're probably about 84, 85. So this is in my
maybe a little earlier
era.
Yeah, it's easy. It's an easy quiz. All right. So, what was the original Japanese toy line that many of the first Transformer figures were rebranded from? A. Daycom. B. GoBots. C. Daycon. D. Robotech. Or E. Roboto. Good luck, anyone.
I'm going off a little bit of memory here, but I think those were. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it is C, a Diaclone, because they were clones. You know, they cloned from thing to thing. I know it wasn't three of those. It's Diacron or Diaclone. I'll go with C. I think they were clones.
All right. Well, it looks like you are actually going to copy Daniel's answer because he actually submitted his answer before you. So
Oh, did he?
We will see. Yeah, you know, like. You guys are both correct. It's C, Diclones.
Okay.
That was a little tricky. All right, question number 2. Which 2 Transformer characters were famously created from a single toy mold but differentiated by color and faction in the original line? Was it A, Jetfire and Starscream? Was it B, Prowl and Bluestreak? Was it C, Rumble and Frenzy? Was it D, Ironhide and Ratchet? Or was it E, Wheelie and Frenzy? Good luck, everyone.
Well, this is an interesting one.
At least 2 of those are my favorite.
Well, I'm thinking A, Jetfire and Starscream, but I don't really know if they were the same mode. I would assume they would be the same thing. I'll go with A. I'm not sure on this one. I'll go with A.
That's pretty good. Jetfire was like one of my favorite ones that was out there. Daniel is going E.
William Frenzy. I don't know who Frenzy is,
Wheelie
but I do know
Frenzy.
the top 2.
Yeah. So you guys are both wrong. It was Iron Signet, Ratchet were the same molds.
Oh, really?
Just all they did had different stickers. So,
Oh, well.
nice try.
I wasn't sure.
All right, question number 3. Which toy company was initially approached by Hasbro to distribute the Transformers line in Japan before Takara handed it domestically? Was it A, Tonka? Was it B, Tommy? Was it C, Epic? Was it D, Yoshinawa? Or is it E, Bandai? Good luck, everyone.
I'll give a little history on this. Hasbro. Uh, when you look at the big first toy that Hasbro come out with, a lot of people
Mhm.
think it was G.I. Joe. It was actually Mr. Potato
What?
Head. Yeah.
No way.
Oh, yeah. I
All
remember.
right.
I sort of know a lot about Hasbro because, but I think the name before Takara, I think it was Tommy. I don't think it's called Tommy. It's called like Tomei.
Tommy.
I think it's called
Tommy.
Tomei. I think it's B, but I'm not 100% sure. It was either A or B, I would think. I
So
remember something with a
Daniel,
T.
looks like Daniel's picking A, Tonka.
Yeah, those are two I
So
was going with, but I'll go
that's
with B.
pretty. Yeah, that's pretty good. Let's see what survey says. You guys are both wrong again. It was E, Bandai.
Really?
Yep.
I
So
honestly I wasn't even sure. I just took a guess.
no, but actually you are right because that was like the second runner-up was Tomai.
Oh, was that? I
So
remembered something like
yeah.
that.
So I always
Okay.
put the second in there, try to get you.
Okay.
All right. So question number 4. What was unique about the packaging of the original G1 Transformer toys that helped sell their transforming concept? Was it A, transparent cases showing both moves or modes of transformation? B, flipbook style action screenshots? Was it C, lenticular rub signs that revealed allegiance? Was it D, voice chips embedded in their boxes? Or E, holograms with character sayings? Good luck, everyone.
Well, what I remember about this, and I'm probably wrong, but I don't remember. I remember there were things you rubbed, but I didn't know it revealed allegiance. What I remembered was it revealed that um, it was um, a real transformer that you purchased, from the box and stuff. Uh, but I remember it being for allegiance. But I'll go with C because I remember the rub signs.
All right, it looks like Daniel is taking A. Is that A? It says A, yeah. So he's taking transparent cases showing both modes of transformation. And King James takes the lead with the C answer. I knew you were going to get this one the other night when I was talking to you. I was like, I already submitted the quiz, and I was like, oh, man, I knew you got that one. So you were like, oh, yeah, there's rub signs. I was like, dang it. I was like, he knows it. All right. So question number 5. What was the first Transformers toy to be designed entirely by Hasbro rather than licensed or adapted from a Japanese line? Was it A, Optimus Prime? Was it B, The Pretenders? Was it C, Skylinks? Was it D, Omega Supreme? Or was it E, Megatron? Good luck, everyone.
Well, I think I'm not 100% sure on this. I think they designed the first, because I remember the first ones they kind of had that with the Japanese. They had the airplanes and things like that. They were,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they wasn't anything spectacular, but the big one they did, which I think would be Optimus Prime. I think it's
Yeah.
Optimus Prime. It's either that or Megatron. It had to be one of those two.
Yeah, and like Megatron was like the gun, which I remember everyone loved, like the
Yeah,
gun. Daniel's picking Optimus Prime.
the
So
semi.
it looks like King James could maybe take the win if you guys are wrong. And let's see. Boom! You guys are both wrong. It was D. Omega Supreme was the first Hasbro toy that actually was created. So
Really?
it was Omega Supreme and then Megatron after that. So
Damn, I got 2 or 3 right. Still, I won.
yeah, yeah. Um, so we still have a chance for the tiebreaker.
All right, what's tiebreaker?
Pretty unique tiebreaker. You're gonna take the win no matter what. Like unless Daniel gets the tiebreaker right and you get it wrong. What sports team has the longest championship drought of all sports?
Of
Baseball,
all
football,
sports.
basketball, hockey.
I'm going to think about this for a minute because I've already got a few in my mind that I was looking at, but the one that came to mind right away was the New York Jets. That
Good one.
that is probably. I'm trying to think of some others, but Minnesota would be there too. But I think the Jets have been longer than anybody.
That's
Uh,
true.
I'm trying to
They're
think
up there.
of anybody in the NBA. I would have said the Texas Rangers, but they won one recently. That would have been my
Yeah.
first pick, but they did win one because I know we were always wanting them to win. Trying to,
Baseball's in there. They're in the top 3.
yeah, trying to think. I, I'm gonna stick. What come to mind first was the Jets. I'm gonna stick with the Jets because I know they've been waiting a long time.
Daniel J. swoops in and takes the win with the Arizona Cardinals. Have a
Really?
75-year drought going back to the 20s when they're in Chicago. So they just had that on one of the YouTube shows the other night. And I was like, man, I don't know if I should do this the tiebreaker. King James is probably going to know it, but you don't watch YouTube, so maybe Daniel does. But it was just on like one of the hockey games the other day. They were sitting there
Really?
showing what the longest sports droughts were, and
Were the
I think it
Jets
was
up there?
No, it was the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona Cardinals. Then it was like the Commander or not the Commanders. The Cleveland, whatever they are, Guardians. Is that what they are?
Shit, I don't know. Cavaliers have
Yeah,
won a championship.
no, but it's the baseball team. It used to be the Indians.
Cleveland Indians.
Yeah, they were up there. They were like number 2 or something, and then can't remember what number 3 was. I like even the Maple Leafs go back to '67, and the Jets got one in '70s, I think.
See, that's what I was going back because I wasn't thinking of where they transferred to a team to another city. I was just thinking of one that was in place that's been there, and that's why I went with the Jets. I was thinking, man, that's back in the '70s since they've done
Yeah.
anything. It's back Joe Montana.
So
I'm sorry, not Joe Montana, but the other quarterback, Joe Namath.
Oh yeah, Joe Namath. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that was in '71. I want to say.
Yeah, that's when I was going back to then. When I remember, I was like, the only thing I
And
think of is
so
the Jets.
the Leafs have a Stanley Cup '67, so they have a pretty long drought too.
Yeah.
They might have been in there. They might have been in the top 5, but awesome for Daniel swooping in, taking the win. Man, I don't know how he did that. He somehow came in.
Almost went with the Broncos.
Yeah. Well, it would have been wrong. So,
Okay. I just had to let that go.
Yeah, almost went with the Cowboys.
Oh, no.
The,
Not the Cowboys.
The 90s was a hell of a decade.
No, it didn't go back that far.
That's funny. All right, we'll head over to the Wall of Shame.
All right, here we go.
Shame. 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 Shame.
I have to do my cheers to Adam. Sorry we missed you, brother. Had a great quiz without Adam. He wanted to be here, but I think he just was tired and crashed out, because that's what he said last time. He's like, man, he goes, I totally forgot about it. He's like, all of a sudden I woke up and the show is over. So when you wake up and you see this, Adam, cheers to you, brother.
Yep. Cheers.
But you'll love this one, man. So this is some like homemade light fixture. Looks like they're trying to take a page out of like Willie Jackerson's toolbox or something, but I don't know how that was even working like that. But like he showed like a close up of the MC kind of going in that PVC, like they must have made some little PVC something that slid on there or something weird.
Wow.
Then just had like the MC going in there, and I don't know, man. That was pretty rigged up. Like that was definitely Willie Jackerson material right there.
I like how they cut the hole in the side of the PVC to get the wires in. Golly.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they made the connection outside and just pushed the wires inside.
Something, yeah, they had to have. But yeah, I mean, yeah, we were talking about this like on service calls, because we run into this stuff all the time on like service calls. Like, how do you fix this?
You don't.
And I think the guy who posted this, Rich No-Slow, he was actually redoing all the lights on this place, so that's why he posted it. But,
that's why he's redoing them, because they all look like that.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. So I figured you'd like that. You know, that's why you have to make sure you have like listed luminaires. Relamping places, putting in new lights and stuff. Make sure stuff's listed. So
that's pretty bad.
That was definitely
Wow. I'd have to go as far as say that's not even funny. What they did that's bad.
Oh yeah, I'll have to give Daniel a I mean, dude, that was awesome. He just swooped in and just scored a goal right on you, he was dead to rights, and then just came in.
They're getting ready to start here in a little bit.
That's pretty awesome, man.
Stars are about to start. I'm ready to go watch the Stars play.
I feel you.
I'm gonna chill out tonight. I'm not doing anything tonight. I'm tired.
All right.
My eyes are.
Well,
I'm just gonna. I think I'm gonna go. I'm gonna make some tacos and just eat some tacos and watch some hockey tonight. I'll be a lazy bum.
I like it. Well, I just want to thank everyone who participates with Nat King Code. We had a great week. It was a lot of fun. I told King James kind of what was going on with my new buddy Kyle. Thanks, Kyle, for participating in the Myth of the Week this week. It was a lot of fun. Hopefully everyone learned something, including the inspector. That I think he said that the inspector made him take that post down because he probably knew he was wrong. And that's cool. We all learn, so it
Oh,
doesn't
hey.
matter if you're an inspector or whoever, we're all learning, we're all trying to do better. And like I say, that's why King James brings up the whole entire code, shows exactly what it says. And even if you were to misinterpret note 7 and say that you had to do conductor fill on that whole thing was still under 40%. I feel you could have allowed separation. You could have sealed one side. You could have supported it within 12 inches from where it entered the, sleeve. And like I say, it was just, I don't see any like real world problem with that kind of install. So,
Oh, there. I think it's pretty clear when you look in 310.15C1. Just read the first paragraph. Tells you.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know why anybody would argue it, but I mean, I think we went through it pretty good, and nobody disagreed. So,
yeah, didn't hear anybody in the comments say anything bad, so must be good. But thanks so much, Daniel J, for joining in. Appreciate you. Thanks so much, John. Appreciate you, John. Man, John was messaging me about the thing, and big shout out to David Englehart. He's gonna be watching this on replay. And we gave you a shout out at the end there, David. So appreciate you. Thanks everyone for joining. And as always, remember, make every day an easy day.
amen. All right, everybody, have a good weekend, and we'll see y'all next Thursday. We're out of here.